Are online leads a waste of time for people like you and I that are deeply relational? Today's guest is going to answer the question as to why many people really fail when it comes to converting online leads. I'm not necessarily saying that you should convert your business entirely to being an online leads business. However, if you do believe that that's the way you want to get business and you've struggled and you've wondered why you can't make it work when others do, this episode is going to unlock for you 3 key principles through which you can convert online leads. These same principles will actually help you be better in converting business within your own database and any other way in which you get business. It's a great episode. The guest is magnificent. You're going to absolutely love him and want to follow him. So enjoy this episode. I'm excited for you to hear it. Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddart, and excited today to bring you somebody who is an absolute expert at converting Facebook leads. Like 100 appointments a day is what he and his team are getting for agents around the country. So this is an important episode for you to listen to know that not all money poured into Facebook ads is going to turn out poorly, like maybe you have heard, right? There's people having massive success with it, and I'm excited to help you kind of get another side of the perspective today, or get a different perspective today. Let me remind everybody that's listening today that inside of the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook is where we take snippets of this show. We take assets that our amazing guests bring to us and we put it inside that group. Within that group is where you'll be able to really digest and internalize and take to heart the things that we're going to be teaching today. So if you're not yet a member of that group, be sure and do so. I'm excited to bring to you today, again, somebody who founded a company, an outsourced ISA company called Power ISA, Gus Munoz Castro. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's such a pleasure, man.
Hey, thank you so much, Justin. Happy to be here.
Now, Gus is actually enjoying life right now in Mexico. He has a presence in the U.S. and gets to kind of split time between the U.S. and Mexico. He's in like a terrible tropical paradise. I'll say terrible because we're all, like those of us that aren't there are jealous that you are there. So, we talked a little bit at Gus before we kind of get into kind of the meat of how to convert Facebook leads, right? I want to ask you really quickly. I know we had a conversation previously about this concept that a lot of people are kind of down in 2020 as like the worst year ever, right? We hear it, we see memes all the time. Yesterday, from the date of this recording was September 21st. It was World Gratitude Day. And I had a perspective that I needed to share with people is that I'm now grateful for things that I used to take for granted. For example, family and relationships, health, clean air here in Oregon. We had terrible wildfires, just barely, stuff that I used to never even think about. I'm now grateful for. And I think you had an interesting perspective, and I want to hit that right off kind of the top because it'll help people to really get a perspective that will open up their mind to learning, that open up their mind to gratitude. What was your thoughts and kind of comments about challenging and difficult times? Hey, Gus, I can't hear you, buddy. You're tuned out. There we go.
Okay, is that better?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we're good.
I think I'm back. Okay. Yeah, Justin, I think it's a great attitude to have because, things are going to be out of our control, right? You might have like the worst wildfire season ever happen, right? You might have a pandemic happen. You might have these things happen. You might have a market shift, an economic recession happen. These things are outside of our control, right? So one of the things that I try to do is, and it comes from gratitude, right? It comes from gratitude from, hey, I have my health, I'm okay. My family's okay. My family's safe. Turn around and say, okay, great. These things are happening, right? They're going to happen. I try not to get upset. I try not to get angry. I try not to get angry and upset about things I do not control. I try and get my head down and put my head back up and say, okay, great. What are the opportunities that are in front of me today? Not the ones that were there yesterday that are no longer there. Not the ones that I thought were going to happen later that might not happen. What are the opportunities out there right now? And I try and tell folks, hey, focus on that part of the equation because yes, all of these things that are happening in 2020 are happening. I'm not trying to tell people, avoid reality. Understand reality. Don't dwell on that, right? Don't get stuck in what could have been, what should have been. Understand the world we live in right now. Put your head up and look for those opportunities because they are everywhere, folks, right? Whether it's real estate, whether it's business, it's been a difficult year, no doubt. However, I see an interesting combination, Justin, of people having like the worst year ever in real estate and business and people having the best year ever in real estate and business. And I believe fundamentally that it is about looking for the opportunity and not getting stuck where you were yesterday.
Well, that's such a powerful perspective, Gus. Thank you for sharing that. It really is. Oftentimes we get in this mindset of like kind of the Who Moved My Cheese. If you've ever like read that book, right? It's like,
I've heard of the concept.
Like the world moved and changed, and all too often we sit around upset at the change. Whereas those that get ahead, as you described, go and evaluate, okay, I can't control that. What can I control? What are the opportunities right now? You said it so succinctly and so well. I don't necessarily need to repeat it, but it's a fabulous perspective as we look at 2020. Stop bemoaning, look for the opportunity, right? Sure, things have been lost. Like devastation has happened to some people. And this is in no way meant to minimize that, but it is meant to give you perspective and allow you to move forward and make the very best situation possible, which for many is, like you said, having their best year ever. One other component I want to talk about before we get into the conversion of Facebook leads around this World Gratitude Day, right? You and I both now have more time with family as a result of COVID-19. I would say that probably most people do. I'm not running off to soccer practice midweek. Last night I played card games with my family for the first time in I don't know how long. And it's stuff like that where I'm super grateful. I want to hear from you, Gus. I know you're the father of 2 young children. What's your favorite part about being a dad?
Oh boy. So, one of the things that, again, this is coming from selfishness. I mean, this is for me, it's like one of the things that I get to do with my kids and my kids help teach me is like, being in the moment, right? Yes, I run a big company, I have a lot of employees, I do all these things, but when I'm with them, first of all, they know what this is and they hate this, right? This is not going to be part of the equation. My phone is not going to be, in the moment with them. They want to know about the here and now, Dad. What are you doing, let's talk about the now. Let's play now. I want your attention now. And that for me, Justin, has been a huge gift for me. Because at the beginning, when I first became a dad with a little baby boy, it was hard for me to focus. It was hard. I had trained my mind to take the dopamine hit, look up on Facebook and Twitter and the news and all these things, always be distracted. But my boy, one of the great gifts of being a dad he has brought me into the now, right? And as a father, you kind of realize this. And again, people get to this point sooner or later, that it's not just about quantity of time. Children care about quality of time, right? So even before COVID, I wasn't able to spend all day with them. I would be around them that much. But the time that I was with them, they wanted my undivided attention. That's all they want, right? That's the attention and have you pay attention to them and engage with them, right? So, I am unbelievably grateful for my kids that have kind of helped me make that shift of being more present, more in the moment. It was like therapy, like helping me kind of get over that. And I've gotten infinitely better at that as a dad. And I'm really, really grateful for that. And it's been a huge help.
Boy, I really appreciate that perspective. I feel the same way, that my kids teach me more than I teach them just by being in their presence.
100%. Just fundamental things, right?
Yeah. So good. So good. Again, the reason why I share that, I want to give some perspective to the audience that my purpose is not just to help you grow your business, right? I think my purpose is to help you to grow and to help you to think bigger and for you to really empower every area of your life, ones that are even more meaningful than growing your business. So thank you, Gus, for being the kind of father and human from which we can extract those kinds of lessons and be better people and truly think bigger. All right, let's get into this topic. You have 65 plus agents that work for you. You guys book 100 plus appointments a day, primarily from Facebook. What's the magic? Will you tell us kind of why maybe some people who have put Facebook ads out there who have had like failures, like what causes that? Let's maybe get to the big problem a lot of people face. They say that doesn't work. I don't want to deal cold market.
Yeah, great question, Justin. And I see a lot of folks, and I've gotten that feedback, right? Hey, Facebook doesn't work. I tried it. It's no good. The leads are not good. The leads suck. You can hear all these different phrases out there. One of the things that we've learned is that when you're and again, this applies to all kinds of online leads and all kinds of unmet leads, but I think it's particularly true for Facebook, is that you have to have a couple tools in your toolbox to really get the most out of these kinds of leads. Number one is you have to be fast. You've got to have some way to reach out to these folks right away. A Facebook lead comes in and you're going to call them the next day. Your opportunity there is really, really diminished. And that's what a lot of people, unfortunately, they do, right? It comes in Sunday night. it comes in, in the middle of the day and you're busy with appointments, you're not able to engage with that person. That's one of the things. Being fast is a big factor, and talking to people, actually connecting with them, right? That first phone call, that first text message, that first outreach, and this can be automated, Justin. You don't have to have a huge ISA team to do this. You can leverage some of that automation to help you out with this problem. So you have to be fast, number one. Number two, you've got to have some kind of follow-up plan, right? I see a lot of folks struggle to even connect with leads, but I always ask them, okay, great, how many calling attempts are you making consistently, right? Because agents typically are great at that first phone call, or maybe that second phone call, but ask them about the third, fourth, fifth call, and that's where things can kind of break down, right? Because they're wearing a lot of hats. They have a lot of responsibilities, and sometimes they cannot put the attention into these leads that they need. We know, because we measure this really, really closely, that if you want to talk, let's say you get 100 Facebook leads, we know that it takes about 14 attempts to talk with the majority of them, 50% plus one. And this is a national metric. And some markets are better than others, but as a national metrics, we're going to do 14 attempts to reach out to them. And we're going to actually speak to on the phone with 50% plus one, right? And on text message, it can be responsive, but we're counting the conversations, the ones you're actually able to talk to. It takes that kind of an effort.
14 exchanges or like 14 different exchanges? Like we're texting back and forth for a few minutes, that's one, correct?
Well, I'm saying with no response. This can be 14 attempts to contact them. There's no engagement. There might be no engagement with that. Phone call, text message. You got to try and get their attention. The consumer is distracted. The consumer has a lot on their mind right now. They might actually be interested in talking to you, Justin, but you're just not giving them a chance to get back to you. You're not giving them another opportunity to engage with you. So unless they're telling us stop calling or stop texting me, we're always giving that a try. And that's an important part of that conversion process. That's another area where I see a lot of agents can struggle with, is just putting the work into a lot of these leads. The third thing, which is also super, super important. Okay, you get in touch with that person. What are you going to say to them then, right? It can be challenging when the agent is unprepared for that conversation. Like I mentioned, the consumer's busy. They're distracted. They got a lot of stuff going on. They've got a pandemic they're dealing with. They've got the recession. They got wildfires they're worried about. There's an election coming along. There's a lot of things that people are concerned about. You have to get their attention, and you have to offer them massive value, right? It all comes down to that. When you talk to that lead, you've got to be able to build some rapport, understand what their goal is, what they want, what their concerns are, right? What are they worried about? What problems do they perceive that they have? And you have to find a way to position yourself as the solution and offer them something of value so they can meet with you in person, so that they can give you permission to follow up with them in the future. Without that, and that's where another piece of the pie, another piece of the puzzle comes in. A lot of agents, they want to just make it very transactional, Justin. Hey, Justin, I saw you signed up on Facebook. You reached out. What kind of home are you looking for? And what do you want to be in that home? Great, Justin. I think we should meet tomorrow at Starbucks and we can get this started. They don't want to meet. They're going to say no. They're going to say no to that. That's a typical response. This is a normal response because you don't really know anything about them. You don't know what's motivating them to make that purchase, to sell that property, to make the move. You don't know what kind of problems they have, what questions they have, what concerns they have. Are they already talking to a lender? Have they already spoken to an agent? How long have they been looking? What do they want, right? So if you don't approach these leads in the right way, you can make the mistake of being too transactional, and you're going to run into the automatic no from the consumer. So when I hear the leads suck, they're not motivated, my question is, okay, what are you saying to these folks to get them to share their motivation with you? What are you saying to them to get them to share what their true intentions are, right? Again, a lot of folks are going to be guarded. They don't know you. This is a very different approach versus a database lead, versus a referral lead, where the trust is there, right? They're going to be more forthcoming faster with you. When it's an unmet lead, and this applies to anything that is unmet, Facebook, Google, online, offline, you have to build that rapport first. You have to show you care, and most importantly, come with massive value. And that you have to have some kind of hook, Justin, to get them to meet with you, to get them to follow up with you, to get them to engage with you. And that's where the creativity does come in. Okay, is it access to those off-market properties? Is it a proven strategy to help them win that property? Because right now as a buyer, it's a hard time out there for a buyer in a lot of these markets, right? So hey, what are you going to do, Justin, to help me win this home? Because that's what it's about, right? Maybe you've got some awesome VIP buyer program you're going to tell them about. Maybe you've got some, again, the example honestly doesn't even matter. It has to be something valuable, and you have to listen to the lead to see which one of these value propositions is the most important to them.
So let's get into, so summarize, or not summarize, but just restate the 3 principles again so that people can kind of have that framework in their mind. And then I'm going to go deeper on a couple questions within these principles.
Absolutely. So number one, and this is particularly true of Facebook and a lot of these online leads, number one is speed. You've got to be able to be responsive to them. And if you can't be responsive to them, leverage automation to be responsive to them. Number two, you have to approach the lead, and this is particularly true for Facebook, with a long-term follow-up plan in mind. This isn't failure. 14 touches is par for the course. If you approach it with that mindset, it just becomes a part of the conversion process. It's not, if they don't pick up on the 3rd call, it's not a failure. It is an average lead. This is the way it works, right? Change the mindset on the follow-up. Number 3, when you actually get in touch with the person, you've got to approach it from value, and you have to have a hook, something that's unbelievably valuable, something that's undeniable. You can't say no to that offer, to that potential solution to their problem, that they want to meet with you. They want you to follow up with them, and they're going to take that call further down the line. That is where a lot of people kind of mess up. They do not offer that value. And yes, they're not going to pick up the next call. Yes, they're not going to want to meet. They're not going to show up to that appointment, Justin. That's very frustrating. They agree, and then it's a no-show, and they ghost you. Ghosting someone is another way to say, very impolite way to say, that this is not valuable to them.
Yeah. And I don't trust you yet, right? Potentially, or I'm not urgent.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
100%.
Talk to us. You had mentioned that there's certain things that you can say to get people talking about what they actually care about, what their concerns are. Because what you're saying is you've got to give people value that's actually valuable to them in order for them to understand that they need you, right? What are some things that you would recommend people say to these leads that get people talking and expose the fact that this is a real problem for this person? Perfect. Now I can meet that with this value item.
Okay, no, great question, because it gets into like the scripting and the approach to the lead. So there's actually 2 parts of it, Justin. It's what are you going to say, but most importantly, it's listening actually. So it's listening to what they're saying. The answers are already giving you to some of these questions, and making thoughtful comments, making thoughtful questions. And this is where, that, I don't know if you've heard of this concept, FORD, forward. When people, you want to always talk about, family, occupation, the dreams. There's different things you can, and there's methodologies around this, but you always want to see it, trying to listen to when the lead is trying to tell you about their family, about their occupation, about their dreams, what their aspirations are, what do they want to accomplish. And the best way to build rapport is to try and drill into those things when they're talking. Let's say a really simple example, right? You've got someone coming in from Facebook. Hey there, Justin, this is Gus from the Gus team. I saw your message came in through Facebook, and I saw you're interested in, properties, looking for a home. Tell me more about that, right? Leave it open-ended, Justin. Like open-ended question. That is the first key, right? Because we're like, hey, are you looking for 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms? What's your time frame? Are you a year out or are you 6 months out? Are you already signed with an agent or not? Those are very transactional questions. Those are very like yes or no things. That's not where you want to start with someone, right? Unmet lead, no trust, no rapport. They have no idea who you are, Justin. They could care less who you are, to be really honest with that. You have to make it about them. What do they need? And as they start telling you a story, again, some people will be might keep this very tight. They might not give you much information. Some people, you have to keep quiet and let them talk about what they want. What's their desire? What's their dream? What's their ultimate motivation? Because those are the questions. The motivation aspect of what they're doing is the key to this, but it is typically the thing they're not going to reveal right away. You have to give them a reason. You have to get them feeling comfortable, and you have to listen to what they're saying. They might say something about school district. They might say something about 3 bedrooms. Oh, okay, great. So you've got, is it just yourselves? You have other family members living with you? Oh, interesting. Oh, you got some kids. That's great. So it is about listening and that banter, right? That gift of gab, that making some chit chat, because that's what's going to enable people to be comfortable, build some trust, minimal, but build some trust, and be more open to sharing things with you. And that can be more of a pleasant conversation. That's what we recommend. That's what we teach. Get people comfortable over the phone, showing that you care. And once you build a little bit of that trust, once you establish that, hey, you're listening, you're interested in them, you can start adding that value towards whatever need they have, right? They haven't spoken to a lender yet. Oh, Justin, man, I really got to get you in touch with my lender, Gus. Man, he's amazing. And he knows about all these first-time buyer programs. I would love to see if you can qualify for something like that. Oh, no, worry, Gus. Oh, so okay, great. Then you don't need anything like that. We'd love to get you pre-approved to see how much home you can actually afford. Because in this market, that's an important part of winning a property. Being, presenting your offer as the best financial, choice for the seller. I mean, again, I'm thinking on my feet, making this up as we go along, but it is about listening to them and finding the smart way to present value to them. And it has to be around what they're willing to share it with you, right? And I love that FORD acronym because it can tell you the really, really key aspects to focus on. And that can be about their job, that can be about their family, and it can be about whatever aspiration they have. If you can find out if that person needs a bigger home because their family is growing, that is a great way to start a conversation about that, right? Because they might be interested in school districts. They might be interested in having a yard. They might be interested in, again, you're the agent. You know where the best parks are. You know where the best family activities are in this area. So make it about that, right? Add value that way. You might be talking to some empty nesters. They might be selling a home and moving to a smaller property. Hey, something that's more comfortable for them, something that's more appropriate. Hey, that's great. Talk about that, right? Why is this area great for them to move to live in, right? What advantages do they have? They have a property to sell. That is, again, that's a key piece of information that they're sharing with you, right? Because in this market, it is unbelievably, anxiety inducing selling a property that can typically sell very quickly, but having to buy a property in this market and juggling that transaction. So share knowledge about that. Show expertise in managing that balance of selling a property and buying a property. How do you help them with that? How can you craft a strategy to make that successful for them?
I think a couple of things that really stand out. That was absolute gold for anybody that's trying to convert online leads. And I think if you didn't, anybody that's listening to this that's actually serious about making that a part of their business needs to go back and listen to what Gus just shared right there, because that was absolutely brilliant. And I think one of the things that really stands out to me is that people, when they're moving a home, right, when they're buying or selling a residence, they don't do it for sport, right? This isn't a sport for most people, right? They're doing it because something behind the scenes has changed. Either their job is in a new position, or they've added someone to the family, or they've lost somebody from the family, or they've like kids moving off to college, right? Or they're bringing in an elderly parent. Like there's something behind all of this, bedrooms and bathrooms and school district. Behind that are real people with real concerns that they've got to take care of. And I think the more that you can layer down to get to that, you gain that trust. I think of the people that I trust in life and in business. It's people who know me and care about me, and I'm confident that they can get me to where I want to go, right? When I feel like it's about them and I'm just a pawn in their game, then I don't trust them necessarily, because I feel like it's really about them, and ultimately the decisions that are going to be made in the direction I'm going to be pushed is going to be in their best interest, not mine. I think is a fabulous way for you to be able to help people to feel that you're really in it for them, right? That you're trusting, or that they can trust you, that the decisions being made and the advice is being given is going to lead them to the position that they want to go. And actually had a thought as you were sharing, this concept of once people kind of start to open up like that, and it came from an idea that you kind of sparked right there, which is, a lot of people that move in that area are concerned with this. Have you thought about that? And all of a sudden, instead of just being an order taker, like behind the counter at McDonald's, you're now leading them saying, I just worked with some clients and they found that this neighborhood over here was a great one because it was close to these parks. Have you thought much about being close to parks? Now all of a sudden, rather than again just being somebody who's trying to close a deal, you're actually helping them in more areas than just real estate. And I think that's critical for anybody that wants to not be commoditized and not be just, forget about that agent who I've been communicating with. I'll go on to the next online lead portal, right? Like, no, that guy was like, he was sharing information that I don't think I can get anywhere else, right? And I think that 100%. Principle applies to whether you're doing online leads or whether you're doing face-to-face work from your database, that people have to feel like you have unique value and a genuine concern to want to give them that unique value that they can't get anywhere else. And I think that taking those concepts that we probably all know that are in the sales world and bringing them into this online portal and not being in such a hurry to get them to a yes, that causes people who are distrusting anyway because they don't know you, right? Like you said, that's why I think you've really answered it. Why most people don't have success with online leads is because they don't implement the 3 things that you just mentioned. Gus, great stuff. Let's talk a little bit about people who are like, I don't have the capacity to be quick, right? I'm in meetings all day. I want to learn a little bit about your service because I'm a firm believer that when people try and take on and wear all the hats in their business, they end up getting greatly diminishing what they get paid and how much they produce. I think finding the best teams out there, the best services out there, and investing in them, right, is a great way to really leverage your business. Talk to us a little bit about, I know this is unsolicited. I'm doing this out of curiosity, not because I owe you a plug or anything. I'm genuinely interested to know how your model works. Power ISA, what service you guys offer, how does it work? Any sort of details on payment that gives agents an idea of saying like, I'd love to close more Facebook leads. I can't be the person that's answering in 30 seconds. How do I outsource it to a powerful group like you guys? Give us as much as you can on kind of that topic.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. So our company kind of helps bridge that gap, right? It helps solve that problem for folks, depending on where they are in their journey as a real estate business owner. We have a set of services that is like a pay per lead service, right? If you're generating Facebook leads, Zillow leads, Realtor.com leads, and like you said, you're not able to make that phone call right away, you're not able to make the 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 10th phone call at all, then I would definitely recommend leveraging a service like that, right? Where, hey, it's a fixed cost per lead. It starts at as low as $3 a lead. If you only want a certain amount of months, it can go up to $5, $6 a lead. If you want 12 months of calling attempts, right? Let's go, that's the nuclear option. Like, hey, boom, try and get the most out of these folks. And that is just a very small cost per lead, right? So that is a great option for people that are generating maybe 50 leads a month, 100 leads a month, in that range. As people mature in their business and their lead generation budget goes up and their lead flow goes up, then a more of a dedicated ISA might make more sense, right? That's another set of services that we offer. We offer a person. Instead of having a team of ISAs following up on a pay-per-lead basis, we have a specific person. This might be, Sam, working for you, either on a part-time or a full-time basis, helping do not just the initial contact and conversion, but the follow-ups, right? Maybe you've got someone you've contacted, you've reached out to them, you've qualified them, and they are in fact 6 to 12 months out. They are not ready to meet with you right away. They're not ready to sign anything right away. Then it becomes a follow-up game, right? You've got to call them the next month. You've got to call them in a couple months, and you've got to add something of value every single time you talk to them. And it might be inviting them to your next client event. It might be sharing with them something interesting you found out about the market that day, that week, that month, right? An interesting insight. You're always delivering value in each one of those touches. And the ISA assists with that, right? They're just making sure that the calls are made. As agents, it's very easy for us to just focus on the business that's 90 days out. That is one way to do it. But if no one, especially not you, is focusing on the people that are 6 to 12 months out, you're going to face what most agents face, the roller coaster of income and lead generation. You're going to have a great month followed by a couple of really crappy months where you're desperate trying to get people back in that pipeline. Someone has to continue nurturing that pipeline, right? Because that's where I think a lot of folks struggle. So that dedicated ISA can help bridge that gap. And that can be on a part-time basis, that can be on a full-time basis. Obviously, the cost is very different. That's not a per lead cost. It's a fixed cost per person, but it's very, very competitive versus hiring an in-house person, anywhere. And that starts, it can be $1,000, $1,300 a month for like a part-time person. And then the more hours you book, you get a better rate, so on and so forth, right? So definitely that's kind of the spectrum of the different services and the value that we offer.
It's powerful when you think of like the definition of a business, right? It's a series of people and or systems that attract, serve, and account for business, right? For clients. And to have, when people really start to take their business seriously, say, what is the system that I have in place to consistently get new business? And what's the investment that I need to put into that to be sure that I get that continual flow? People start to think differently, I think, and start to think bigger about what's possible for their business. So I'm grateful for what you've shared here, guys. I think it's changed our paradigm. A lot of people's opened up their concept to hear somebody like you, well-spoken, intelligent, coming from a good heart, a good place, actually wanting to serve buyers and sellers, not just close them, right? I think that's helpful for people to see. If Gus is the one who founded this company, right? This amazing 7-figure movement of people who are out helping real estate agents get better business, then I'm sure you've attracted people like you and trained people to act like you, right? Who aren't kind of sharky and salesy and slimy, right? But that are genuine people that are just engaging in conversations, building trust, and then turning that over to the agent. So thank you for being that person and for kind of sharing what you've shared here. I want to move now, Gus, to the signature question of the show, which is a dedicated time within every episode that I have to helping all of us to think bigger. We can learn the tactics, we can learn the strategies, but if our minds aren't big enough to actually think that that's possible for us, then all of this is in vain. It was just simply entertainment. And so I want to end with hearing from you. What does Gus do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities? Would you teach us that?
Yeah, no, and I love that, Justin. So the thing that's really helped and worked for me is I'm always, again, as entrepreneurs, we're not doctors, right? We're not, we're not miners. We don't have tools that we use. You don't have, a briefcase that we carry around with our work, tools. We only bring our mindset and our motivation to this business, right? As entrepreneurs, as salespeople, that is the game, your mindset and your motivation. So the thing that always helps me is I'm always looking for the thing that's going to get me excited, Justin. I'm looking for the next thing that really inspires me, right? What is that piece of content? What is that person? What is that? And for me, there's been two things that have been key to always keep me motivated, excited, and thinking bigger. And one is books, right? I'm always looking for the next book that's going to really impact me and get me, worked up, ready to go. And well, this is post-COVID, right? But conferences has been another way that I found that's a great way, right? Seeing people live and talking. Right now, I've attended several conferences in the virtual realm. That is also a great way to do it. But it is hearing people, listening to them talk about their story, talk about how they made that transition, how they scaled their business, how they built their team, how they struggled and overcame the challenges that we all face. That always gets me, motivated. It always, helps put my mindset in the right place, because the willpower is not on will call, right? You're not always going to wake up in the morning at 100%. You got to be intentional about keeping your head in the game, about keeping yourself motivated. Because trust me, man, it's 2020. Like you said, if you're looking at cable news all day, you're not going to be very upbeat by the end of the day. So be very, very intentional about keeping your head in the right place, keeping yourself motivated, and keeping your mindset in the right place. So for me, it's been those two things. Looking for the best, always looking for recommendations on great books, and always looking for the best conference that I can listen to, even watch on demand. Even that works for me.
Fascinating concept that you just shared right there. If I were a lumberjack, it would be essential for me to keep my chainsaw, my axes sharp, right? If I were an auto mechanic, it would be essential 100%. For me to keep my tools well-oiled and good working shape. We live in a knowledge economy. You and I get paid for the knowledge that we bring and the help that we offer to people. And it's as if we're not doing what you just described, it's as if we're letting our tools get rusty and old and broken down. And how good are we to people, right? So taking it with that seriousness, that these are the tools that we have. Our mindset is the tool that we have and that we utilize to serve and bring value to the marketplace. It's awesome. Great stuff, man. Such a pleasure to have you here. I want to thank you so much. I want to encourage everybody, if you have interest in learning more about Gus and his services and what he does, powerisa.com. Did I say that right, Gus?
Yep, you got it.
Perfect. PowerISA.com. There's also a Facebook group, which is available for you to join. Just search Power ISA. You can go in. It's a free group to join, and there's tons of value and opportunity for you to be able to go in and learn more of these ways in which you can close more business via online leads. So Gus, thank you so much for everything you've shared today. Such a pleasure to be around another big thinker that helps expand my possibilities. So thank you for that. Appreciate it very much, man.
Okay, thanks everybody. Appreciate the opportunity, Justin.
You bet.